My name is Justus, I'm 34 and I was born in Germany.
Who did you know before the trip started?
Before the trip with the SY Start and Low started, I only knew Christoph, and from one call before I know Sylvia.
Why did you want to sail across the Atlantic?
Sailing across the Atlantic was not on my bucket list, or I had no idea that I'm gonna do it one day. But Christoph wrote in his group that he's searching for somebody who can bring a sail to the boat, and if that person wants to, could also sail across the Atlantic. And I wanted to escape the cold Europe. I had nothing to do, and Costa Rica was somehow in my back mind the last whole year, or 2020. And I wanted to go there in December, but thanks to COVID it didn't really work how I wished to. And now sailing the Atlantic and being so close to Costa Rica was really tempting for me.
How did your preparation for the trip look like?
To be really honest, I didn't prepare at all. All I did is that I figured what type of boat it is. So I got the information it's a Lagoon 380 S2 from 2006. And Christoph wrote a really long, passionate article about the boat and all the modifications they made. So after reading this, I had a really good and secure feeling, and I found a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name, but it was a couple. They sailed a lot with this type of catamaran, and they came into a storm and they had 15-meter high waves, and they sailed them down with, I think, 17 knots or something, and the boat is made for 15-ish. And yeah, they survived, the boat survived, and I thought with all the preparation it's gonna be fine. And for personal, I live with hand luggage, so I don't have to prepare anything. Everything is in the backpack anyway.
In 3 words, how was it to be on the boat?
In 3 words, it was adventurous, it was challenging, and adventurous, challenging, and a good time.
How did you manage the food?
What I liked about our trip is that the food was amazing. We had a kitchen crew, mainly the girls, and they took care of all the food. They were cooking most of the time 2 times a day. We had a lot variety of food. We went shopping in Capo Verde and bought all kinds of fresh food, fruits, vegetables. We had a bit of meat. We even used a beefer with gas to have steak one night. And we have a gas stove and an induction plate. So depending on if the engine is running, we could cook with induction. If not, we used the gas. And yeah, the food was amazing. All the time we had good food. And yeah, I didn't miss anything, let's say.
What did you learn from the captain about sailing?
So for me, sailing is not one of my hobbies and it's not one of my interests, let's say. So everything was new. I didn't know how to navigate, I didn't know how to read the radar, and the difference between radar and sonar was not clear, how to use a sail, far away from any knowledge. All these ropes, I had no idea what they are. So the interest didn't change so much while the trip was going on. I'm happy now that I can read where the wind comes from and how the weather radar works and everything. But I'm not into which rope do I have to pull to raise which sail by myself. I'm happy with assisting, and if somebody says do this, I'm good with that.
Did you get seasick, or were there any other complications for you on the trip?
When we drove from Capo Verde, the one bay to another bay, I get a slight feeling how it is, and I thought, okay, if it's gonna be this all the trip, I have a problem. But I could handle that really short distance we drove from one bay to Praia. But then, I think 3 or 4 days later, we started crossing the Atlantic, and already after 1 hour with more calm water and constant wind, I felt really bad. So I had stomach issues, I had headache, and I realized that I started to cramp a lot. So I get cold shakes like that, and I was like, okay, I need a solution, something. So I meditated really short, And the answer was I have to relax. So I laid down in the fresh air for maybe 1 or 2 hours. And when I woke up, the headache was gone. I felt way better, but I was super tired. So I went down into the cabin and I think I slept another 3 hours. And before I did all the sleeping, I took a seasickness pill. And then 12 hours later, I took the next. And then 18 hours later. And then 21 hours later. And then I stopped. And then I was fine for the rest of the trip. What helped me a lot was looking at the horizon. Because then I can look far away and the seasickness was not so much. And other complications, I get bored after a while. So for me, I think after 7 days it was enough. So it was good. We sailed, we've seen a lot. It was great, but now I'm good with going back to land. Then you realize, and that's maybe also, you realize how your mood changes. So that could be a complication because you are like, oh, I'm bored. Oh, I'm just looking at the horizon. And the next second somebody shouts, "Woo, dolphins!" And everybody is running out and looking at the dolphins and yelling and so happy to see the dolphins and everything. So it's always like up and down, up and down, up and down. So yeah, that could be one of the complications I had.
How did your days look like and what did you typically do on a day?
I'm gonna answer this in short. If you want to have a really long explanation how a day and a night shift and everything looks, I recommend to watch the video where I explain that in the On the Sail series. But to make it short, you wake up, you have your breakfast, you have conversations, you have lunch, you have conversations, or you read, or you listen to something, or you have a nap. Then you have dinner and you have conversations, or you play something, or you read. And then maybe you sleep a little bit and then you have a night shift. And then you wake up again after the night shift, or after you finish it, you go back to bed, and then you wake up again and start the same process. And if you want to have in-depth details, how the night shift looks, how the instrument looks and everything, check the other videos that will be in the info box up here, and then yeah, you will get all the infos you want.
Would you come back to the Staatenlos to sail again?
Yes, I would come back to the Staatenlos to sail again, but not across the Atlantic or any other long trip. I like to go from bay to bay, maybe have a 1 or 2 day trip and then snorkeling and maybe sit in the flamingo and enjoy the company and everything, but I don't have to do a really long distance trip with constant sailing and no land or rest.
What is your positioning to the Staatenlos concept?
I'm split with the Staatenlos concept because on one hand I like to have the freedom and I like to travel and to explore all the different areas, but all these different areas can only exist because of states. So if I fly from A to B to C to D and in between I need accommodation, I need a shower, I need food, I need maybe health issues come up, I need support, it only works because there are systems running. So on one hand I'm really grateful that it's so easy nowadays to travel and to go with the systems. On the other hand, I don't like how the systems abuse the people and how people are kept stupid and weak on purpose. So I'm really bipolar. Two sides are fighting in myself with that.
How was it to capture the trip in pictures and images?
Recording all the footage you've seen and that you will see in the further videos was quite challenging sometimes because I'm not so well with the balance and with walking on the side on the boat when it's moving a lot. I always have to hold with one hand and be sure that I don't fall in, because that would mean a lot of trouble. You have to take down the sails, you have to turn the boat, you have to be picked up, and if they find you, right? So that is quite challenging for me. And also we have a lot of wind, luckily, because without wind you can't sail. But the wind and the microphones and now all the background noises you have on the boat, they make it really difficult to record good audio. So that is why there's so much music in the videos, because it's so difficult to make a good recording with the wind. Even if your microphone has some kind of wind protection, it's often too much. That is challenging. Besides that, pictures, scenery, gets boring quick because all you see is water. So if there is no animal, if there is nothing special going on with the crew, you have nothing to film, you have nothing to record, because it's always the same view.
What was one of your highlight moments from this trip?
I think I had two main highlights that I can recognize today, so short after the trip. One was that we did a spiritual treatment where I experienced a lot of energy, and I was able to work really well with my clients. That was really nice. And the second one was that we pumped up a flamingo, and we didn't know before that this flamingo is huge, but we didn't know it's going to be so huge. And we managed to pump it up, and we had a lot of fun in the flamingo, and yeah, that was one of the highlights. Besides that, the nature. Seeing the islands is okay, but seeing the dolphins and swimming with them and having them jumping directly in front of me, that was definitely one of the highlights, yeah.
So what's your next destination and how does your journey keep going?
For now we are still in Brazil, and we're gonna stay here 2 more days. Today is Monday. On Wednesday we're gonna fly to Costa Rica. To go to Costa Rica we fly to Sao Paulo and then to Panama City and then back to Costa Rica, or forward to Costa Rica. And in Costa Rica I have no idea what's coming. So we will find maybe an eco-village, we will find a community to live, maybe co-working space, maybe a cabin in the woods. I think I'm gonna rent an off-road car one day with a rooftop tent and just drive around for 1 or 2 weeks to explore the wild nature. I don't know, something like that. And then when everything calms down with COVID and Europe is cool again and warm, I will probably go back to Europe.